Hello and welcome to the first episode of the Get Off the Wall podcast. I am your host, Alston Godbolt, and we are going to talk about online businesses. So what we'll do today is I'm going to basically give an overview. I'm going to set the stage for this podcast so that you can know what to expect. First and foremost, I will be uploading weekly, potentially on Sundays. The goal of this podcast really is to help you get off the wall. And what I mean by getting off the wall, essentially meaning if you are sitting on the sidelines, you're fearful, you're concerned, you're afraid, you want to start an online business, in any business. It doesn't matter to me if you are in drop shipping or if you're in online basket weaving. The business doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is helping you get off the wall. And so what we're going to do is every week I'm going to interview somebody different, hopefully in a different space than mine, so that we can talk about business. We're going to talk about everything from journeys, side hustles, hurdles, roadblocks, good things, bad things, so that you can determine which online business is right for you and to really help you get off the wall. So the first episode is just going to be me talking at you, talking about my journey and why I settled on what I settled on, and maybe you could be the next guest. So if you are interested in the Get Off the Wall podcast, and again, I'll talk about that in just a moment, be sure to comment, let me know, send me an email, send me a message that you want to join the podcast. This is going to be real informal. This is going to be more fun, really helping you and anybody else watching this, if anybody else watches this, start their business. So let's go ahead and talk about it. Why did I name this podcast Get Off the Wall? Now, it's very simple. When you go to a party, a club, a group function, there are a group of people that are interacting, doing things, dancing, having fun. And then there's a separate group of people that are essentially standing on the wall. And in my opinion, the people that are standing on the wall, they really want to interact or dance or whatever it is, and they just are looking for that opportunity. They want it. They want help, they need assistance, and they may seem reluctant when they're pulled off the wall, but ultimately they have fun. So that is the same for starting an online business, creating content. There are tons of people out there that want to get off the wall and they want to start their online business. They want to start creating content, but they just need a little push. They need a little assistance. They need someone to come and grab them off the wall so that they can start dancing. So that's what this is. I am pulling you off the wall, or I'm going to have people assist me to pull you off the wall so that you can start dancing and join the fun. So let's go ahead and talk about it. In this podcast, episode 1.1 of the Get Off the Wall podcast, I'm going to share my story. I don't have a person to interview just yet, so I thought it would be nice to just share my story and how I got to where I am. And then you can, if you'd like, you can join me on the next podcast. We can talk about your story, your vision, where you're going. So let's go ahead and let's get started. All right, so my story, where to begin? Now, to start, I want to let you know that I think that my story is pretty unremarkable. And there's nothing that is extraordinary except for my first and last name. Oftentimes people tell me that I have the first and last name of a superhero. I've since started telling people that it's a stage name, for whatever reason. Anyway, I think my story is pretty unremarkable, just a regular guy like everybody else that is in the pursuit of happiness. So let me see where we should start. I can start senior year of high school. This is how old I am, by the way. I remember, and this is really interesting, that what your brain chooses to remember. I remember sitting in library senior year of high school, and one of the librarians wheeled in one of those big CRTVs on the metal stands. She actually pushed it in and said that there was a plane that just hit the World Trade Center. Initially, I didn't think much of it because if you know anything about history, that the World Trade Center has been a target before. So, it wasn't really that big of a deal until, the rest of the day happened and kind of shifted how everything was going. Fast forward into the school year, graduated, went on to college. I went to Marion College, now Marion University in Fond du Lac, Wisconsin, which is about an hour and a half north of here. Again, pretty unremarkable stuff, just your average guy going through life. I got my undergraduate's degree in communications. Now, one interesting thing that I think is pretty funny and, again, really unremarkable is that my senior year, a friend of mine, John Palmer, we actually decided we were going to build our computers. It was the first computer that I'd ever built. Now, I had tinkered with computers when I was younger, but this was the first computer that I had ever built. And we built this thing. We ordered the parts from Newegg. Buying stuff online was really new at that point, at least for me. And the stuff came throughout the week, and we set up a table, a folding table, and put this together. Now, we put it together over the series of a few hours, and interestingly enough, the computer only worked when I had the Microsoft disk inserted. And so I could not figure out why it wouldn't work. Otherwise, it wouldn't boot up. But again, pretty unremarkable stuff. Fast forward, I graduated college in, I think, '06 with a communications degree, bachelor's of arts in communication. I went off to try and find a job in communications, and I couldn't find one. Now, during that time, the recession was looming and blooming, and there was a lot of doom and gloom. People couldn't find a job. People were being laid off. There was a lot of nervousness, uneasiness, and tension. The few jobs that I went in for writing like press releases, things of that nature, being PR, were not a good fit for a variety of reasons. Again, I can remember one instance where a guy told me, after looking at my resume and all the stuff that I'd put together, he said, "Hey, you speak really well." I didn't get that job. Yeah, so you can imagine why he said that, but that was very interesting. I remember the guy, he was down in Waukesha. So things did not go well. My first job was actually selling door-to-door products for AT&T. So what I would do, I would drive from Fond du Lac down to Milwaukee, outside of Milwaukee, Wauwatosa, an office building. And every morning I'd be there about 7 a.m. and I connected with these group of people. I don't remember how I connected with them, but our job was to go door to door and be an AT&T reseller to small and medium-sized businesses. That was the absolute worst thing that I did. As a business owner, as a kid trying to find his way in the world. People either love or hate AT&T, and oftentimes, if you loved AT&T, you already had it. If you hated AT&T, you wanted people to know that you hated it. And so the interesting thing about that job is you only made money when you got a sale. And so I was Ryan Howard for a long time. For like maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks, I was Ryan Howard. I would walk door to door in a suit and tie, trying to get small and medium-sized businesses to purchase AT&T. Absolute worst job. I don't even remember how I got connected with these guys. I wasted so much money driving back and forth to Milwaukee, just spending money, not making anything. And then I finally got a sale. I made $50 at that job. I spent a bunch of money driving back and forth and only made $50. I don't even remember the name of that company, but I remember making $50 and like 26 cents. So again, I did that for a few weeks and realized that wasn't going to be my ticket to the white picket fences and making $50K per year. I moved back home. So about 6 months after graduating college, I was back home. And then, trying to find a job in anything, my first job was actually my senior year of high school, I actually worked in a call center for a cable company. I'll tell a different story about that in a different day. But after moving home, I got a job working third shift at Walmart. Now, believe it or not, I'd rather work third shift at Walmart than try and sell AT&T door to door. I was getting paid. It wasn't a lot at that time. It was third shift. And basically, if you showed up, you were a good employee. And so what I would do is I showed up and I just literally put boxes on shelves, cereal boxes right on the shelf. That was my job for however long. There was nobody in the store. It was one of the first 24-hour Walmarts in southeastern Wisconsin. And so it was still pretty novel and new. And basically all I did was just put boxes on shelves. I did that for a few weeks. And then one of the guys that I was working with, and this actually ties into work ethic, believe it or not. One of the guys that I worked with, he also worked at Office Max, and he had the same birthday as me, which was kind of weird. He also worked at Office Max as a manager, and he said to me, "Hey, look, you're pretty consistent. You show up all the time. You do work. You don't argue with anybody. How would you like to work at a job that doesn't require you to work third shift? You would get paid more, and what do you think?" And I said, "Well, yeah, I don't want to work third shift, especially if I don't have to." And so about 3 weeks working at Walmart, I gave him my notice. I said, "I'm not coming back." The manager that actually tried to convince me to stay on simply because I was one of the few employees that would actually show up to work on time, do what I was supposed to do, take an hour lunch, and come back. So always work hard, always work to the best of your ability because you just never know who's watching. And I got a better job simply just putting boxes on shelves. So that was job number 2 or 3 or whatever it is. Anyway, I wound up working at Office Max for a few months, 7 months, to a year in Racine. Eventually, I came down and worked at the Office Max here locally. And that was a decent job. It was, Office Max. It was retail. And during that time, I actually had health complications. And I actually had cataract eye surgery in both of my eyes. Not at the same time. That would be difficult. But in a span of a few months, I had cataract eye surgery. And, after playing sports until I was about 22, 23, being diagnosed of being a diabetic is really challenging for a number of reasons. You realize that you can't just do whatever you want to do and be fine like everybody else. You've got to pay attention. So I have 2 fake lenses in my eyes. It's a funny story to tell. But anyway, continuing on. Sometime later, my mom, in fact, worked with a lady who had a roommate that worked in higher education. She worked at a for-profit university. It was called DeVry University or the Keller Graduate School of Management. And if you live in the U.S., you've heard of it, either directly or indirectly. People all over make jokes about it. It's been on Family Guy and some of the other cartoons and things of that nature. It's a for-profit university. My first real job was being an administrative assistant or secretary for the Keller Graduate School of Management, which was really interesting. I got to meet some really smart people, really rich people, because it was down in Lincolnshire, Illinois, which is outside of Lake Forest, Illinois, which is outside of Highland Park, which is one of the wealthier suburbs of Chicago. Lake Forest, Illinois is actually where the Bears practice. Highland Park is where Michael Jordan used to live, if that offers any frame of reference. Anyway, first real job, as I mentioned, and just to reset here, this is episode 1.1 of the Get Off the Wall podcast, where I am interviewing people to discuss their online business. You can be a tiny, micro, I just started yesterday, or you could be a 20-figure trillionaire, whatever that comes out to. I want to ask you questions about you and your business so that we can help somebody else get off the wall, because everyone's story is unique and it's common at the same time. And everybody's story can help someone else's story or help someone else move on to the next level, which is getting off the wall, creating content, and potentially starting to make some money. So just a reset about the Get Off the Wall podcast. Anyway, continuing on. So my first real job was working as an administrative assistant with really smart, really bright people. Did that for a little while. Ultimately, I realized I had this feeling like this isn't it for me. This isn't enough for me. I always felt uncomfortable in these different jobs. Each job I worked at was a little bit better, higher in pay, but I didn't feel like I was where I wanted to be. I always had the dream. We always have the dream of the white picket fences, but I just didn't, working 40 hours per week and then going home to wife, kids, and a dog, white picket fence. I just didn't feel like I was going to get there in my current situation. So once again, for about a half a year, I worked as a administrative assistant. I think it was like operation support coordinator is what I was called at that time. And eventually, I applied and was accepted as an admissions advisor for DeVry University. And the interesting thing there was it was a fun job from the fact that you made a lot of friends and connections and things of that nature. But when I was hired with one other person. Her name was Nicole Schneider-Zick, I believe. Me and her were hired at the same time. And basically, we were both hired to compete to see who they wanted to bring on. They were only going to keep one person, but, I guess we were the 2 best fits for it. And if you've ever worked in higher education as an admissions advisor for a for-profit university, you know that is a sales position. It is dressed up as a position to help people enroll into the university, but ultimately it's a sales position where you need to sell people on joining a relatively expensive university, and then you can make money. At the time that I joined, I think this was 2008, 2009, half your salary was static. The other portion of it, like 40%, was based on your enrollment numbers, was based on like commissions and incentives and things of that nature. Also, if you didn't hit your numbers, you ran the risk of being fired or let go. And so I really had a 8-week time slot, 8-week time slot to prove to myself that I was capable of doing the job. It was me versus this other woman. And so on the first day of our actual working for our boss, my competition was furiously taking notes and writing down stuff and asking a bunch of questions. And me, I just sat there and I looked at our boss and I didn't really ask any questions and I was just making minimal notes. And the boss at the time, the manager, says to me, "Hey, Alston, you're not asking any questions. Is everything okay? How come you don't have any questions?" And I looked at her and I said, "Hey, look, quite frankly, I don't know what I don't know. And so before I can ask a question, I need to figure out what I do and don't know so that I can ask intelligent questions." At that point, she just looked at me, kind of shocked, but then we continued on. So, as I mentioned, in order to survive this and to have a sustainable business, I needed to make sure that I beat out my coworker, beat out this woman. And so my first few enrollments was my girlfriend at the time, now my wife, my sister, and someone else that I knew. I got them enrolled, I got them to sign up, and the goal was to get like 6 enrollments in my first 8-week or 6-week section. 2 of those 6 enrollments was my girlfriend at the time and my sister. So fast forward, I got signed up. I signed up a bunch of people, and I hung on. Again, the cool thing there is I had my own office. I was used to kind of that privacy. However, once again, I didn't feel like that was the right spot for me. At the time, I thought maybe I just didn't like the high pressure sales that came along with it. Maybe I felt like I didn't like the some of the tactics that were invoked in order to make sure that you had to keep your job and keep enrollments up. And so I started looking for something else. Once the writing was on the wall, some things started changing with the United States education and what their policies were with regards to for-profit universities. Around that time, schools like ITT were closing. Some of those other schools that you may see, Everest, if you ever remember that commercial where the guy was like, "You got no money, you got no job, you're sitting around doing nothing all day." Those types of schools started closing, and so DeVry had to pivot. And when they were pivoting, they could no longer pay people based off of enrollments. And so they had to change their payment strategy. And one of the questions I asked was, if our compensation is no longer tied to enrollments, what's the incentive to enroll people? And, that was probably the question that people were kicking around their head. Ultimately, a few months later after I left, they actually laid off a bunch of people because it was difficult to motivate salespeople without giving them sales, commissions and things of that nature. Anyway, if we continue on, eventually I got a job working in admissions as the at Concordia University here in town. Much better job. Still had my own cubicle or my own office. Fast forward, that was great. A few months later after that, I became the center director. So I was the manager of the local, and so universities will have like tentacles or kind of like extended schools. I was the manager of that extended school. That was great, but once again, I just kept feeling like something was missing. I didn't feel like this was where I was going to end up in 20, 30, 40, 50 years. I applied to be a registrar, didn't get it, and so I started looking around for things. Another thing that assisted me in starting to look around for things was actually the Sunday that our entire lives changed. Now, I've told this story before, and I'll tell it again for anyone that's brand new. About a month or two before, we found out that my wife was pregnant. We'd been trying for a long time, which I think that is a weird term to tell people. Anyway, we'd been trying for a long time. And on that particular Sunday, she wasn't feeling well. She was a nurse at this hospital that she worked at. She wasn't feeling well. And so I had urged her to go to the doctor's office or to the ER throughout the day as a precaution, and she refused to go. She didn't want to go into work on her off day. It was a Sunday. She didn't work. She didn't want to go into work on her off day. And so she didn't. And throughout the day, things kept getting worse and worse and worse. She wasn't feeling well. And I kept urging her to go, and she wouldn't. And so finally, I had this men's Sunday night basketball league that we went to. The game was at either 7 or 8 or 9. I think it was like 8 o'clock, and the games take about an hour. And so after that game, I played pretty well, by the way. After that game, I said, you know what, we're going to the hospital. I'm going to drive past our house to the hospital so that we can figure out what's going on. Either we're going to hear good news, we're going to hear bad news. Now we get to the hospital, and she is incredibly sad. She didn't say anything. I just kind of picked up on her sadness, her frustration. And so me picking up on that, I immediately started thinking about the worst. We get to the hospital, to the ER, she signs in, she joins, she goes through all of that. And so now we're sitting in this ER room. We're hearing beeps and bumps. We're hearing doctors talking to nurses. We're hearing people writhing in pain. We're hearing carts rolling around. We're hearing people in beds rolling around because we're in like not an open air type of ER room, but you can hear things. And so we're sitting here, my wife and I, we're sitting in this room, beep, 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 you know how that goes. And me, I'm flipping through the TV. Now, TVs in the hospital room, especially in ER, are no bigger than these new iPads that are out. And so I'm flipping through the same 8 channels over and over and over again. Doctor comes in after about 20 years and says, hey, what seems to be the problem? Shannon explains what the problem is. She says, okay, we're going to take you back to have an ultrasound. Okay, and so after another 45 minutes, tech or somebody comes in and wheels Shannon off into the room to have an ultrasound. And so I'm sitting there alone, and I'm just mindlessly flipping through these same 8 channels. It's 9 o'clock at night. There's no like Netflix or anything like that at this point, or at least not to the scale that it is. And so I'm flipping through these same channels. There's news, there's weather, there's CNN. Nothing's on. So I'm just flipping. And all the time I'm thinking, okay, I got to prepare myself for bad news. I'm going to have to be strong. I'm going to have to man up to make sure that Shannon knows that everything is okay. And so, and then I started thinking, oh, wow, she's going to hear this horrible news while she's sitting in this room all by herself. She's going to be an emotional wreck. And so, again, I'm just flipping for about 95 million minutes, right? The time is simply standing still. Now I'm scrolling through my phone. This is when Facebook was in its infancy. There was no such thing as TikTok or Instagram or anything like that. And I'm just scrolling through to my heart's content. Finally, my wife comes by after about another 45 hours, and she is crying. I'm like, great. So, I got to figure out what's going on. She's crying, and the person that wheeled her in says, hey, she looks me dead in my eyes. She says, hey, you guys know you're having twins, right? And so we went from the state of being devastated to being extremely happy that she was having twins. So incredibly powerful, shift in emotions. At the same time, all of her friends from work come rushing in to celebrate with her. Again, she worked at this hospital. The nurses saw our name on the board, saw, Shannon's first name. Obviously, we're a very unique last name family. Come in and they start celebrating. This is my first epiphany that I have. This is my first shift in thinking. All this time I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to go out and find a job, work there 40 years, like my parents did, and retire and be happy. When I realized that we were having twins and everything that entailed, I shifted in my thinking. I went from thinking, okay, we're going to have kids, that's great, to thinking about everything that's going to be required of twins. 2 diapers, 4 car seats, All of the 2 cribs, I think I said diapers, 2 cribs, 3 million diapers that you're going to need, 2 sets of clothes, how expensive the daycare is going to be, how expensive college is going to be once they go to college, everything that's required, field trips, food. When you double in size in food, it's a pretty humbling experience. And so that was the first time I really had a shift into thinking I need to find a way to make more money. And so when I went home, I actually did a little bit of research that night, typing in things like how to make more money or how to make money. And then that's kind of where it began. Ultimately, this was 7 or 8 years ago at this point. I had not gotten to where I wanted to be with regards to finding out the solution. And so, when you ultimately learn or want to make more money, most people don't just take action. They kind of do a little bit of research and then they take a break. Something happens, they walk away, and then there's another shift that really kicks them in gear. And for me, that other shift was realizing that there was more out there. And so what I did is I actually went back to school. I didn't immediately start creating content with affiliate marketing. I wish I did. But what I did is actually went back to school. I went back to school to get a computer science degree. I'd always been tinkering with computer science, but the real answer ultimately was right and staring me in my face the whole time. But I ultimately went back to school for computer science. I started looking for different ways to earn computer degrees to make more money. And one of the degrees that was really appealing to me was a Bachelor of Science in Computer Science from Oregon State. Amazing. I enrolled in that program after looking up. There's a free course offered by, is it Yale, Princeton? One of the Ivy League schools has a free program that you can take online to learn computer science. They teach you Python 101. And so ultimately, after going through that and finding joy in it, I enrolled in this online degree for computer science. This was the hardest thing that I've ever done. It was incredibly difficult for a number of reasons. One, I didn't have a math background. When you have an undergraduate degree in communication, you don't need a bunch of math. It's part of the reason why I took it. Anyway, just to reset here, this is the first episode of the Get Off the Wall podcast, where I am trying to give you all the tools, tips, tricks, and tactics you need to help you get off the wall and start pursuing your dreams, whether it is with creating content online, finding an online job or business or side hustle, whatever it may be. I am trying to help you get off the wall. Anyway, continuing on, going through the computer science degree, it was incredibly difficult. I failed a bunch of classes. I had to drop some classes. It took me a long time. And oh, by the way, I started my computer science degree when my newborn twins were about 3 months old. So I was sleeping about 2 to 3 hours per night, and my wife was sleeping even less. But I was dedicated to earn this degree so that I could make more money for my growing family. And so I went through this, not getting any sleep, trying to take on this enormous task of basically learning computer science and all of these things from scratch with very little experience except for a couple online courses that I took. Fast forward, I would say about maybe a year and a half. Yeah, about a year and a half. We find out we're going to have a third kid. Yes, kid number 3. 3 kids under the age of 3. That is incredibly terrifying when you think about it. It was even worse when you had to go through it. 3 kids under 3. Anyway, I had 3 kids under 3. I was the center director of my university. I worked about 2 miles away from where I lived. My wife worked about another half a mile after that. And I said, you know what? I've got this computer science degree, or I'm close to it. I need to find a job as a software engineer or software developer. Believe it or not, with no experience whatsoever, and just this degree in hand, I applied to a bunch of jobs, got a few interviews, and I actually got a job as a software developer for a manufacturing company down in Illinois. This was about a 25 to 30 minute drive from where we lived. Incredibly powerful. Like, I doubled the amount of money that I made, was ecstatic that I could helped contribute to my family in a substantial way. But when I got there, it once again was not what I wanted to do. And this was the second epiphany that I had, that I could not work in a cubicle. I could not work in a cubicle. So when I started working there, I just did kind of basic tasks. I did a lot of online learning to get caught up on the software stack that they were using, basically the software programs and things that they were using. And so while I was doing that, and I kind of noticed this, that it was happening more and more, I would stand up in my cubicle. Now remember, I went from working in an office to a cubicle. I would stand up in my cubicle and I would pace back and forth, kind of like somebody trapped in a prison. I could not wait to get out of there. I would skip lunch so I could leave early. I would stand up and look around all day. The only light that I could see was there was a square in the office that was directly in front of me. It was about this wide by this tall. It had shot outside to a pine tree, and I could see a little bit of light, and I could see mostly pine tree. But that little light I would look at all day because I needed to be outside. I needed to be out there. I felt trapped. I felt suffocated. And once again, that let me know that this isn't where I wanted to be or where I should be. And so at that point, I started looking into different ways to make money online. Again, I had been doing research on and off. I've been looking for different avenues, escapes. And this is when, believe it or not, I actually started earning money online. This is going to be crazy. So I'm watching YouTube video after YouTube video, like most of us do when it comes to making money. And one of the videos that I saw, the guy's name was Franklin Hatchett. He's a well-known YouTuber. He's got a lot of followers and things of that nature. And he created a video showing people how to make money with Quora and affiliate marketing. And in this process, what he did was he got his affiliate link from Bluehost, went over to Quora and answered a bunch of questions. And so while I was at work, I did that exact same thing. I went over to Bluehost and applied to become an affiliate. It was free. I got it accepted. I got my affiliate link, which is your unique URL. I got it, went over to Quora, and I started answering questions. I typed in things like Bluehost. I typed in web hosting. I typed in how to start a website. And I answered about 4 or 5 questions in about a 20-minute period. And I put in my affiliate link when I answered those questions. And about maybe 2 to 3 hours later, I get an email from Quora saying that my answer was removed. It violated the terms and services of the platform. You can't just put in your affiliate link. About 5 minutes later, I got another email from Quora basically saying the same thing. So defeated, I went home thinking, this is another thing that just doesn't work. Now, mind you, in this path to where I am at this point, I had tried things like completing online surveys, which was a complete waste of time. I had tried things like getting paid to watch ads, again, which is a complete waste of time. I have gone through the entire process that everybody else goes through. And so part of the reason why I started creating content was to help try and shortcut that process for someone else. I had done all those little tasks and wound up not making any more than $20. Anyway, going home defeated. By the time I get home and I check my email, I'd actually received 2 emails from Bluehost. One email said that I had earned an affiliate commission. I scrolled down a little bit, said that I had earned a second affiliate commission. So within the span of 12 hours, I earned $130 as an affiliate marketer. My first try as an affiliate marketer, I earned $130, and that's what really lit the fire under me in the very beginning to start creating content. And so that's my origin story. That's how I came to be in front of you and in front of you today. But it wasn't all uphill, because I still wanted to learn. I still wanted to figure out other stuff. And so again, I went back to YouTube and I wanted to look for different ways. I looked at blogging. I started a blog. I purchased a course on blogging. I tried to do really everything possible not to create YouTube videos, just because I didn't want to be on camera. And here I am. I'm on camera. Just a reset for people that are just joining me. This is the first episode of the Get Off the Wall podcast, where I encourage you to get off the wall and start your online business, side hustle, whatever it may be. If you are interested in basket weaving, online, I want to help you with that. If you are interested in course creating, I want to help you with that as well. I will have featured guests every single week, except for this week, to help you craft a business of your dreams. I realize that not everything is for everyone, and so that's why I want to have guests of all sizes. I want to have guests that are tiny people that are just getting started, no following, brand new to the game, and I want to have people that have had massive success, and really just learn about them and their origin story. But that is basically my origin story when I got started with affiliate marketing and making money online. So that's the origin story. That's how I got to affiliate marketing. I got to affiliate marketing because I tried everything else. Almost everything else. I tried a lot of the quick stuff, the fast stuff, and almost none of that works. So I have a bunch of questions that I would normally ask the person that I'm interviewing. I'm just going to hit a couple of these and go from there. So I've talked about some of the side hustles that I've tried. I've tried doing online surveys. I made less than $20, and still that money's probably evaporated by now. I never requested a payout. I think the payout was like $50. I've tried making money watching ads, stuff that you see over on YouTube. Of course, that stuff absolutely never works. I recommend that you do not do those. Some things that I think that are important when you're first starting your online business. The hardest thing that, in my opinion, the hardest thing about starting your online business is not starting the business. It's when you start the business, you are seeing all of these people with massive success. And you're comparing where you are now to where they are and have been. For example, if you're sitting on the wall and you want to get started, but you feel like, hey, I don't have a following, I can't get started, you're comparing yourself to people that have hundreds of thousands of followers, likes, and shares. When in reality, everybody starts off at zero. And you just have to create content. And if you compare yourself to someone that has been marketing for 10 years now, of course you're going to struggle, you're going to be frustrated, and you're going to be ready to give up. And so what I urge you to do, is to not compare yourself to someone else and where they are in their journey, because they're usually further ahead, that's why you're seeing them, but compare yourself to where you were just a few days ago. And that's going to give you a little bit of motivation and incentive to keep going. If you are if you want to be successful online, the number one thing that I recommend that you do is put your head down, put your blinders on, and don't look at what other people are doing with the sense of making money and the perceived success that they have. Perceived success is a huge part of this. Compare yourself to where you were yesterday. If you're brand new to starting a business and you have no followers, you've got no content, today you're already more successful than you were yesterday. Another thing that I recommend that you do not look at is shiny object syndrome. Now, let me preference this by saying you should be looking around to see what's out there from the aspect of, does this business model fit my skill set or my needs or what I do, but not trying to do everything. One of the things that got me into trouble early on was shiny object syndrome and trying to do everything. You see an email. Gurus are sending you an email every single day telling you to try this method and then that method and all of this other stuff. You're going to wind up spending a bunch of time, energy, and most importantly, money on stuff that doesn't work. You should always do what the gurus are doing and not what they're saying. If the gurus are creating a bunch of emails, you want to send emails. If the gurus are creating TikTok videos or YouTube or whatever it is, that's what you want to be doing too. Because that's where the success is. The success usually isn't in buying a $30 product that promises you a shortcut to success. Hopefully you know what I'm talking about. I'm sure you get those emails, but like a shortcut promise software where they'll just whatever. That stuff usually doesn't work. I'm sure you've seen those emails before. But what I recommend that you do, try a side hustle, try an online business type, and see if it fits you. See if it feels right. I've tried other stuff like drop shipping. It didn't feel right. I've tried taking surveys, and it didn't feel right because it was a waste of my time. Affiliate marketing felt right to me because of the benefits that came with it. I can create content to solve a problem and then get people over where they want to go to help them further solve their problem. In fact, my first blog, which is still up today, was about security cameras. I don't know if you can see that. It was about security cameras just like these. And it was based on a problem that I encountered. And then maybe I'll talk about that some other day, but that's why I liked affiliate marketing. I could see the connection between creating a content to solve a problem and then actually solving the problem. The problem that I had with something like drop shipping is I didn't know how my e-commerce store, my store, would get in front of people that wanted to buy it or wanted the product to buy. With affiliate marketing, I can see if I create content on different platforms, I can get in front of people and then recommend the product. Now, I guess you could ultimately do the same thing with drop shipping. I didn't make that connection. It didn't feel right to me. And so that's why drop shipping didn't work for me. But I certainly recommend that you look into all of the different side hustles that are out there. That's part of the reasons why I created this podcast, so that you can look at those different opportunities and find one that fits for you. Let's talk about other side hustles that I've tried really quickly. I've done a lot. I've sold products on Etsy, digital products on Etsy. I've started a web hosting company. I really like that. I started a freelance WordPress web design business. I like that one. Sold digital products. I really like that. I've created courses over on Udemy. I don't recommend that. But there's just a lot of different side hustles out there. And I do want to tell you that every side hustle does work. Okay? It's just a matter of what feels right to you. If affiliate marketing doesn't make sense to you, try a different side hustle, because I guarantee you that 99% of them work. You just have to keep pushing at it until you can make it work. Or if it doesn't make sense to you, try something else. Anyway, let's see. I'm going to quickly run through these questions because, like I said, I've been talking for like 30 or 45 minutes at this point. Let's see. Some things that I recommend that you absolutely do not. Let me change that. Here's a quick list of things that I recommend that you should do if you're going to get started in affiliate marketing. Number one, start email marketing immediately. Email marketing is going to be the livelihood, whatever it's called, of your business, and this is regardless of whatever business you start. If you start a drop shipping business, do email marketing. If you start an Amazon FBA, do email marketing if you can. Email marketing is going to be so crucial to your sustained success that you won't see it right away, but you'll be able to use it and bear fruit months, weeks, and years later. For example, I told this story before, but one of the guys that joined my coaching program recently, he asked me, in our conversation, he's not doing email marketing. I said, you need to do email marketing. You're not doing email marketing, you need to do it. And he says, is email marketing really that important? I'm already promoting products over on ClickBank. I'm using Bing ads. Do I need to do email marketing? I said, yeah. 90% of the people that are going to buy from you aren't buying the second they see you. It takes between 5 and 12 touch points before they trust you enough to make a purchase. Thank you for the like, by the way. I'm streaming live over on TikTok. Thank you for the like. Anyway, it takes between 5 and 12 touch points before someone likes you enough to buy. And I said, well, let me give you an example. How many times have you seen me before you made a purchase? And he said, well, I don't know. I said, well, where did you find me first? What platform did you find me? He says, over on YouTube. I said, okay, great. And he's scrolling through his emails. And he says to me, you know what? I've got emails from you from 2020. So 2020. I've been emailing him for 2 years now. And he finally purchased from me. So, and I said to him, if that's not proof, if you're not your own proof why you should be doing email marketing, I don't know what it is. What is? So everyone that is watching this that may stumble across this, start email marketing. Heck, you could start email marketing before you even have a product to sell. You could start email marketing before you decide what you want to sell, what type of online business. In fact, that might be the best way to go. If you don't know the type of medium that you're going to make money, start collecting emails. And then you can ask your email list, hey, what is it that you want me to sell you? Obviously, you don't put it like that. You can say something like, hey, what problem can I solve for you today? And they're going to send you a bunch of information and data. And you can use that to create content or whatever it is to sell stuff. So regardless of the method that you choose, start collecting emails. That's one of my greatest regrets. When I first got started, I didn't collect emails. And my commissions were inconsistent, were scattered, infrequent, and frustrating. I would look around and say, hey, all these guys are doing XYZ. Why am I not seeing that same success? And it came down to not doing email marketing. So what you need to do, and the question always is, well, how do I get started with email marketing? You need to create content to get in front of people that are interested or maybe interested in your product or service. And there's two types of content. There's free content, there's paid content. Free content is what I'm doing right now. I'm creating a podcast and a TikTok video where I'm creating free content. If I resonate with the people watching this, they're going to go over to my landing page and they're going to enter in their name and their email address in exchange for more information. If you want to go the paid method, which is ultimately faster, you can create a YouTube ad or TikTok ad or Facebook or Pinterest. You can even use solo ads, but I don't recommend those. Getting in front of a targeted audience. If you don't know what to sell, you want to do free. If you have an idea of what you want to sell and you have money to lose, you can afford to lose, you want to try paid. Paid will tell you right away if your offer is good enough. Free will help you make money over a longer period of time. Anyway, email marketing, number one. Number two, do not spray and pray. Spray and pray is where you will grab your product or link and you're going to spray it everywhere. So for example, if you have a Facebook friend that just started their online business and they're sending that link out individually in Messenger telling you to check it out or to buy or to join the mailing list, that absolutely does not work. You should also not sell to your friends and family, but ultimately do not spray and pray. The reason why spraying and praying doesn't work is oftentimes you are spraying to people that have no interest in your product. For example, if I wanted to promote this security camera here, I am not going to just send my link out to everybody because not everybody cares about the security camera. Not everybody wants the security camera. Security isn't as important to me as it is to other people. So don't go out and spray and pray. You're going to be disappointed. No one's going to buy from you. And it goes back to that old adage that people will only buy from people that they know, like, and trust. And if you're spraying and praying, you are decreasing the trust that people have in you. So don't spray and pray. Another thing is to simply just show up consistently. You show up consistently, daily, you will naturally get better. You'll learn, you'll grow, you'll modify, you'll see things that are working for other people, and you'll try them. I also recommend that you apply what you see. One of the things that has helped me in my pursuit is simply just trying what I see. Couple examples. There's a guy over here on TikTok. He's a email marketing expert. His name is, I think it's the Email Coach. He had a post up a few weeks ago that said, you want to make more money with your email list? Send this email. I sent that email. Success. So try what you see as long as it's legal, not illegal. I also tried, I saw a YouTube video about starting a web design business. I tried that, and that was actually really successful. And that's really easy. I have a course on starting a web design company. 31 ways you can find web design clients fast. If you are interested, let me know. That is an amazing course. It is packed with ways to find clients. Anyway, try what you see. Always question what you see and hear, and do what the gurus are doing and not what they're telling you to do. If a guru is making 3 videos per day, make 3 videos per day. If they're telling you that you can start affiliate marketing without email marketing, but they're collecting your email address, do email marketing. So those are a few tips that I have. It is really hot in here. It's about, I think most of the country, it's about 90 degrees. It's over 90 degrees here where I live. And then in here, the AC isn't on for whatever reason. I've got this light softbox on and I don't have a fan on. So it's really hot in here. If you've enjoyed this so far, be sure to like, follow, do all of that good stuff. Again, this is the first episode of the Get Off the Wall podcast, in which I help people get off the wall. And I'll help you get off the wall by talking about different types of businesses and speaking with people at different levels in their business. I don't want to just talk to people that have made it, quote unquote, because oftentimes the people that have made it no longer understand what it takes, no longer see what it's like at the very bottom or trying to fight to get to a certain level. So I ultimately, if you want to be interviewed for the Get Off the Wall podcast, send me an email, comment, and I'll have you aboard. So this was the first iteration. It was me talking. I guarantee you the next few ones, hopefully I'll have other people on and it will be a much better conversation. So thank you very much. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, do all that good stuff. And you guys have a great night.